Hey YouTube, 60 seconds back here, and today I'm going to teach you how to adjust the Seiko pin and collar bracelet adjustment. I don't exactly know what other brands have the pin and collar adjustment, but I do know that a lot of Seikos will have this. A lot of people don't even know that they actually have what's called the, or they don't have actually a collar. A lot of people think it's just this pin, which a lot of bracelets are just this pin, however, except Seiko is the one that has a collar as well. And I'm going to be teaching you today exactly how to handle this collar and how to take it out and adjust it. So yeah, let's get right into it. So here I have my bracelet from the SARB 033. Obviously this isn't my full bracelet, but these are the links that I ended up taking out for the 033. And the first thing I want to make you aware of are these arrows. These arrows are telling you which way this pin needs to come out. So you don't want to be taking the pin and hitting it that way to get it out. Take the pin in the direction the arrows are going. So when you're taking the pin out, you want the pin to push out this way. And I'll show you exactly how to do that. There's two different tools I have, which I do believe that you should invest in. Totally worth it in my opinion. One is this pin pusher here. You're basically unscrewing this, putting that link in there, remember the right way, putting the link in here, and you're going to start screwing this, and you're going to put it right where that pinhole is, and as you screw it down more and more, that pin is going to push out onto this side, right where through this little hole is here, and the pin's going to push out along with the collar. Now the other method you could choose is just right here. You have a little punch and then you have this hammer. Pretty self-explanatory. You're going to take your block, and what you want to do is you're going to line these holes up and make sure this hole is lined up with a hole on here. This way the pin and collar can come through. Me personally, I like to get it started with this, and then I like to use the hammer and the punch to finish it off, just because I find that this, for me, it doesn't end up taking the pin out all the way. The collar, I think, is a little too far in for this to punch the pin and collar all the way out. But nonetheless, I will do this one, and then halfway through, I'll switch, and I'll show you how to finish with this. I do recommend that you invest in some of these tools, just because you could save like $5 or $8 or whatever it is to get your bracelet adjusted. I mean, this thing paid for itself already. I got a little repair kit here, and it basically paid for itself already. Completely worth it, just alone for the fact of sizing your bracelet. So let's start off. I will be doing this here. So remember, making sure you're lining it up and pushing the pin through the correct way. So I'm going to screw this way I can get the bracelet in there. And once it's just wide enough, I'm going to put this in here. It is a little bit more difficult just because it's not on the full bracelet, but I'll work with it nonetheless. So I have that pinhole, and I'm going to put this little pin pusher here right into that pinhole. See if I can do it so you guys could see. Right there. Okay. So now that's in. And I'm just going to start screwing it down. And you'll see that here on this side, let's see if you can see it. You'll start to see that pin start to push out there. And you can see the pin starting to just come out there as we continue to screw it down. I'll screw it down. I don't like to let this touch the bracelet, so I'll get as close as possible. I'll stop, and then I'll back it off. And this is where I will go to the punch. So I back it off, take it out, and now you can see how far that pin's out. Now the collar is in here in this middle link, so when I go through this, you will see the collar either pop out or either be underneath this, or it might not have popped out yet. You got to be careful. It might not have popped out, and it might still just be in there. So when you have it, just gently turn it over. But I'll show you. So what I do now is I'm going to take this. Again, make sure you're going the right way, obviously. Line this pin up with one of these holes so the pin can go through. I'll take my little punch here, put it right where that hole is, and I'll start just tapping it, and right there it came out. You'll feel it when it gives. And okay, so this is exactly what I'm saying. Good thing this happened. All that came out so far that we see is the pin, and this is why the collar always gets lost. People don't realize that there's a collar, and they start finagling around with the bracelet. Now you got to be careful here, because that collar, if you could see, is still stuck right in there. So all you got to do, all you should have to do, is just turn it over, and there you go. You have the collar that came right out. And what this collar does basically is, so you're going to put the collar back in, and when you put the pin back through, this collar is just a little bit bigger, just a hair bigger than the pin, or I mean a hair smaller, sorry. This collar is a hair smaller than the pin, but the pin is able to get through it and into it, and as soon as the pin goes through, that collar ends up opening, and it ends up pushing against the sides of the bracelet for that nice, tight, snug fit. If you don't insert this back into the bracelet, you definitely run the risk of your bracelet basically falling apart, and next thing you know, your watch is on the ground, and who knows what the heck could happen. A break or whatever, we don't even want to talk about it. No one wants to know. But yeah, so that is how you remove it. Always, always be careful when you have the Seiko bracelet that there is no collar involved. The first time I saw this, I was kind of like, oh wow, what is this? How the heck how do I put this in? But yeah, it's very easy. It seems like you were like, wow, what is this extra part? But it's very easy. Not a big deal at all. So say now you adjust your bracelet to the correct size. I do know that for this bracelet, the collar is going to go in on this middle link. Sometimes they go on the outside. To get this back in and connected, you are going to put this collar back in. So with this collar, you want to make sure that the collar is being inserted back in the direction of the arrow. So going to be a little bit different from putting the pin back in, but when you put the collar back in, you want to put the collar back in the way that the arrow is going. So you'll slide it right in. You should actually just see it drop right in. There you go. Just that easy. Drops right in. And now when we put the pin back through, the pin is going to just pull right through, and it's going to, again, like I said, that collar is going to expand and push it really tight against the other link. So once you do that and the collar's in, again, you are going to, again, making sure, you always want to make sure that you have the arrows going the right way. You're going to place it like that, and now when you put the pin back in, the pin is going to go reverse from the way that you punched it out. So you see the arrows going down that way. Now we're going to put the pin in, then opposite, going that way. So you could literally just do this right by hand. Just go this way, making sure those are together, and just push it in, and you'll see it kind of has it contacted already. Then what I'll do here is I'll put it right back into this, and I'll ever so slightly, just light tap, because you don't need a lot of force for it to go in. I'll just ever so slightly start tapping that pin back in. Again, use this plastic side. It's a little bit better. You don't want to use this metal side. You don't want metal to metal. Don't know if it would scratch it. I don't want to take that chance. I'll use the plastic side instead. And then you're just going to start tapping it back in. And once you have it flat, once it's flush there, I like to take this punch, because if you look at it, the other, well, it's hard to see, but when you have the bracelet, these pins aren't flush with the bracelet. The pin is kind of inside a little bit. And now what I'll do is I'll get it flush, like I said. And then what I'll do is I'll take this punch and I'll just give it a little bit more of a tap. Make sure it's lined up with the pin. You don't want to be hitting the bracelet. And I'll just tap it ever so slightly again. Just so that pin is set in there and it's not flush with the bracelet. That is how you change the Seiko pin and collar, or adjust the Seiko pin and collar bracelet. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. I hope it can help you. And thank you again for watching 60 seconds.